Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial video. Today I'll be showing you how to make this lovely Bubu Kaftan dress. So if you are interested in knowing how I made this outfit, kindly keep watching and subscribe to the channel. So this is what I'll be working with. I have my fabric, I have my tailor's chalk, I have my bias tape, I have my cloth gum as well, and my measuring tape. So for this project, these are the measurements you'll be using. I've left them on the screen so you can see them properly and take down your notes. So for this dress, I'm making use of 3 yards of fabric. I'm going to fold it into two, so I have 1.5 yards each. So by the time I fold it, I'm going to start putting my measurements. As you can see, I folded it. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see the full part of the fabric. It's actually 60 by the length. So I folded the right side facing right side so I can use my chalk on the wrong side. So the first line I'm going to draw is the shoulder line or the back line, which is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So mark that. The next line I'm going to draw is the sleeve measurement. From the shoulder to where the sleeve stops is around 15 inches. So I'm going to add 1 inch extra to give me 16 inches and just mark it there. After doing that, I'm just going to go down by about 1 inch and create a slant slope from that point to the shoulder point. So after doing that, I'm going to measure 12 inches from the shoulder line downwards and just mark it across. That's where the arm is going to pass through. So on that point now, I'm going to put my tape and measure my bust measurement divided by 4 and then mark it on that line. So now let's take our half length to mark our waistline. Our half length is 17 inches, but I'll be going down by 1 inch. So on that point, I'm going to insert my waist measurement. This is also going to be your waist measurement divided by 4. So go ahead and join the waistline to the bust point. This is going to serve our blueprint for the final forming of the dress. To get the hip line, I'm going to measure 8 inches downwards from the waistline and just mark it there. On that line, I'm going to input my hip measurements. So I'll divide my hip into 4 and place the measurements. So after drawing the line, just go ahead and draw a straight line from the lower part up to the hip point. So I'm just redrawing the line so you can see what I did here. Then from that hip point, you are going to come out with a curve. I already used my white chalk to do that, but I just want to re-emphasize on that curve. I don't know if it's clear enough. From that hip point, you are just going to come out by a curve and then connect that curve to the sleeve point that we made earlier. This is what it's supposed to look like, just in case you don't see the chalk properly. So I'm basically done with the back pattern. I'm just cutting out the excess fabric. After cutting this, then we'll go ahead and cut out the front pattern. So before we cut out the front, let's quickly cut the back neckline. I'm going in with a width of 3 inches and depth of 2 inches, and then I'm just going to curve the line and cut out the neckline. So I've turned the fabric inside out. This is the right side, and I place it on the second fold that I have. I also left out 2 inches in front of it, just like you do when you're putting your zipper allowance. I left out 2 inches in front. You can leave 1.5 inches. Any one you choose is fine. So I'm just trimming off the excess fabric. I'm going to follow the same pattern I used in front. I'm just trim out the edges. For the front neckline, I'll be going in by 4 inches depth, and 3 inches width. The only difference is how deep the front is from the back. So I'll just curve the line and then go ahead and cut it out. So before we start sewing, there's like a slit in front and then there's an opening on the neckline. It's not necessarily a V neckline, it just opens. So I'm going to measure from the neckline to where I want the slit up to stop. And then I'm also going to measure the one down and see where the slit stops, so I know where I start and stop my stitch. After marking the point, I'm going to sew all the way from the neckline to where the slit starts. After sewing it, this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and use my clothes gum to hold it down from the top part of the dress to the lower part. You can as well use your sewing machine to sew on top, but this method is way better and it holds the fabric down. So I went ahead to also cut out a piece of fabric about 1.5 inches wide, and I made a long belt out of it. So let's iron it and see what we have. This is what we have after ironing it down. As you can see, it stays smoothly. It's already giving the v-neck effect and the lower part is opened as well. So the next step I'm going to carry out is to place my back part on the front part. So place it right sides facing right sides, and then I'm going to stitch along the edges. I'm going to stitch on the neckline, that's the shoulder part, and then the sides. I'll just give it a stitch all around. After sewing all the edges down, this is what we have. I've gone ahead to hem the opened end of the sleeve and the lower part of the dress. So the next step I'm going to do is to use my bias tape to turn the neckline. I'm going to place it on the wrong side and then sew it the way we sew our bias. After sewing your bias on the neckline, this is what it should look like. So we're basically almost done with this dress. The next step is to insert our belt on the waistline. Turn it inside out and make it face the front part of the dress. Then I'm going to go ahead and insert the waist measurement. The waist measurement divided by 2. I'm going to take the points, I'm going to divide it by 4 from the midpoint and then make a mark on both sides of the dress. Use your half length to determine where the waist is meant to sit, and then just go ahead and measure your waist on that line. So at the point where the waist stops, you can sew your belt on it. You can top stitch on both sides, but for this tutorial I'm going to be passing my belt through the loops that I've already created. So I went ahead to stitch the loop on the sides of the waist, and then I'll just pass my belt through it, and that will be all. But like I said earlier, if you want to, you can just go ahead and stitch the belt on the sides where the waistline stops. We've come to the end of this tutorial, and this is the final result of this Bubu Kaftan dress. So if you like this video, if you found it helpful, kindly share, comment, like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Bye.